Hello friends, welcome to third lecture of unit number 4 Network Security. Myself Nikul Jaiswal, lecturer in Computer Engineering, Sri KJ Polytechnic, Bharuch. Let's have quick recap of our previous lecture. So in the previous lecture we have discussed the types of firewall. So there are basically four types of firewall: packet filtering firewall, application level gateway firewall, then circuit level gateway firewall, and stateful inspection firewall. So in the packet filtering firewall, all the packets will be filtered based on the predefined rule that has been set by the network administrator, and the information like source IP address and destination IP address, then source port number, destination port number, then source protocol and destination protocol will be checked based on the predefined rules. And based on the predefined rules, the firewall make the decision to allow the packet or not. Next was the application level gateway firewall. So in the application level gateway firewall, uh, it is also called as an application proxy firewall, and it is also called as a proxy server. So application level gateway firewall will not allow the direct connection between the internal user and the external server, and it will construct the connection behalf of the user, and all the all the packets that has been transferred to the user will be go through the application level gateway firewall. Then next was the circuit level gateway firewall. So it is the advanced level of gateway firewall, and the working of the circuit level gateway will be same as the application level gateway, but it will work on the session layer. And next was the stateful inspection firewall. So in this stateful inspection firewall, the state information of the connection will be checked, and for any packet, whether the packet is part of the active connection or not will be checked, and decision will be based on the state of the connection between the internal user and the external user. And last, at the last, we have discussed the personal firewall. So basically there are two categories of the firewall: network firewall and personal firewall. So network firewall will work for the particular network, and the personal firewall will work for the particular individual machines. So for the individual laptop or individual machine, that will be a personal firewall that will help uh, to monitor the packet that has been uh, uh, that is incoming to the computer or outgoing from the computers. Now in today's lecture we will discuss the trusted systems and the concept of the trusted system. So we will discuss what is the trusted system and importance of the trusted system. After that we will see the some of the concept for the trusted system, that is data access control, then concept of trusted system, and the reference monitor concepts. So let's start with the introduction to the trusted system. So trusted system is the another way to enhance the ability of the system to defend against intruders and malicious program, and is to implement the trusted system technology. So it is the ability which will help the user to trust the system, and it will help the user to build the trust in the particular system, and they can easily communicate in the trusted system without any hesitations. So a system trusted by a user is one of that the user feels safe to use. So basic concept for the trusted system is data access control, then the concept of trusted system, and the reference monitor concept. So let's start with the discussion of the data access control. We have already seen a different type of data access control. Now in this lecture we will see how the data access control will work. So data access control will help user to identify particular user to uh, authenticate for the different applications or different objects or the data. So following the successful login, the user has been granted access to one or set of host and applications. So in the basic computer environment, computer security environment, what the user will do, it will log into the system, and after successfully login into the system, the user will able to access some of the information or the application that has been present in that particular host. But this will be generally not sufficient for the system that include the sensitive data in the database. So data access control will help us to control the access of the data for the particular user. So it will be the procedure, and it will identify the particular user for the systems. So associated with each user there can be a profile that specify the permissible operations and file access. So most of the user in the data access control will have one profile, and that profile will indicate what type of data can be accessed by the user in the particular system, and the operating system can then enforce the rules based on the user profile. So user profile will include the certain information like which type of file can be accessed by the user and which operation can be performed for the particular user to that file. So in the data access control, a general model of the data access control will have the access matrix. So that will be exercised by the file and the database management system. So access matrix will have the rules for the particular user and for particular file. So which type of file can be accessed by which user will be a part of the access matrix, and that will be the general model of the data access control. So data access in the basic model of the data access control will contain following elements. First is subject, second is object, and third is access list. So the user of the system will be called as a subject, and the files and the programs will be called as a object, and which subject can access which file or object, that rule will be set in the access list. So access list will have the rules for the subject and object. Remember one thing, the user will be called as a subject, and the files or the programs for the user will be called as a object, and which user can access which file and which operation can be performed will be part of the access list. So this is the general model of the data access control. So you can see here, this is the program and these are the segments. So that there can be a multiple programs and multiple segments. So you can see, you can guess that the program will be a general program that has been accessed by the user, and segments can be a file that can be accessed by the particular user. Now processes will be the, you can consider the process as a user. So process one, that means the process one can read and execute the program one. Then process 1 can read and write the file A, but process 1 cannot have the access for the segment B or the file B. Now process 2 cannot access the program 1 or other programs, but process 2 only access the segment B, and it can only read the segment B. So this type of access list can be generated in the data access control. So this will be called as the access matrix. So process 1, process 2 denotes the particular user, programs denote the particular programs, and segment denotes the particular files. So if you can see here, process 1, for the program 1, the process 1 can read and execute. That means user 1 can read the program and execute the program. So this is the access matrix. Then user 1 can read the segment A and write the segment A, but user 1 cannot access the segment B. Now process B denote the user B, and user B only read the segment B. It does not have any access to segment A, and it does not have any access to program A. So this will be called as the access matrix. Now next is the access control list. So this will provide the list of processes that can access the particular program or particular segment. So you can see here, it is written here, access control list for program 1. So this will be the list of processes or user that can be access the program 1. So you can see here, process 1 can read and execute program 1. That information will be stored in the access control list. So access control list will be for the particular program or particular segments. So you can also see here, so this is the access control list for segment A. So process 1 can read and write for the segment A, and you can see here the access control list of segment B. So process 2 can read for the segment B. So this type of access control list can be prepared from the access metric. Now last is the capability list. So this is the capability list of the process 1. That means the which type of operation to the which file or program can be performed by the process 1. So process 1 can read and execute program 1, and process 1 can read and write to segment A. So this will be the capability list of the process 1. Next is the capability list of the process 2. So process 2 only can read the segment B. So this will be the capability list of process 2. So this is how the data access control can work by developing the access metric, then access control list and capability list. Now next is the concept of the trusted system. So a widely applicable requirement is to protect the data or resources on the basis of level of security. So there can be a certain level of security in the organization, and based on the level of security, the requirement can be provided to secure that informations or resources. So this is the commonly found in the military, where the information is categorized as unclassified, then confidential, secret or top secret and beyond. So basically in every organization there will be a information, and their information will be categorized in the particular it can be categorized in particular parts like unclassified information, then confidential information, then secret information and top secret information. And the security rules will be provided to that their information based on the categories of the information. So this concept is equally applicable in other areas also, where information can be organized into gross categories. So it is not like that we can only use this classification in the military, but we can also use this mechanism in another organization also, where the information is organized in such a way. So for example, the highest level of security might be a strategic corporate planning documents and data accessible by only corporate officers and their staff. So based on the category, the access of that information will be provided to the particular user. So you can see here the example is written: if we have any strategic corporate planning document, then only higher level of officers can only get access to that information. So that type of mechanism can be implemented based on the category of the information. So next might be a sensitive financial and personal data accessible only by the administration personnel. Then when multiple categories or levels of data are defined, the requirement is referred to as a multi-level security. So whenever we categorize our information in such categories, then that system will be called as a multi-level security system. So a general statement of the requirement for the multi-level security is: a subject at a higher level, that means a user of a higher level, may not convey information to a subject at a lower or non-compatible level. So this is the basic requirement in the trusted system. If we categorize our information in several categories, then the basic general statement will be: a subject at a higher level, that means a user of a higher level, may not convey the information to a user to a lower level. Clear? Unless that flow accurately reflect the will of an authorized user. If any authorized user want to convey the information to lower level, then and then it is possible. But in the general statement, a user of a higher level cannot convey the information to user of a lower level. That is the general statement of the trusted system. So in the multi-level security system must enforce the following. First is no read up will be provided, and the no write down will be provided. So this is the basic enforced rule in the multi-level security system. So no read up means a subject can only read an object of less or equal security level. That means uh, if the subject is of a higher level, or let's suppose our information is categorized in uh, two levels. First is secure and less secure. Then the user for the secure information will be called as a subject at higher level, and the user of the non-secure level will be called as a lower level. So a subject can only read an object of less or equal security level. And the no write down means a subject can only write into an object of a greater or equal security level. So if subject want to write the file, then it can only write into object or a file that is greater or equal security level. So this is the basic statement of the trusted system. Now next is the reference monitor concept. Though basically the reference monitor concept will be the based on the concept of the trusted system. So the reference monitor is controlling element in the hardware and operating system of a computer that regulate the access of the subject to object. So the reference monitor concept will help us to regulate the access of the subject to object. So it will regulate the user which is accessing the particular file on the basis of security parameters of subject and object. So the reference monitor has access to a file known as the security kernel database. So for the reference monitor, there will be a file that is also called as a database, and it is known as the security kernel database. And the reference monitor will access that security kernel database, and it will list the access privileges of each subject and the protection attributes of each subject. So which subject can access which object, that information will be given in the security kernel database, and the reference monitor will use that information to provide the access to particular subject. So a reference monitor enforces the security rules, no read up and no write down, and has the following properties. First is complete mediation. So the security rules are enforced on every access, not just for example when the file is open. So whatever the security rules has been defined, that security rules will be enforced on every access, whether the file is open or not. Next is isolation. That means a reference monitor and database are protected from the unauthorized modification. Then verifiability, that is the reference monitor's correctness must be provable. That is, it must be possible to demonstrate mathematically that the reference monitor enforce the security rules and provide the complete mediation and isolation. So the complete mediation and isolation can be mathematically provable for the reference monitoring concept. So this is the block diagram of the reference monitor concept. So in this reference monitor concept, the reference monitor concept will have the access to a file that is called as a security kernel database, and that security kernel database will have the subject security clearance and object security classification. So that information will be used to give the access to for the particular object. So whenever subject want to access for the object, it will the request will be given to the reference monitor, and then that policy based on the policy defined in the security kernel databases, the reference monitor will allow the access to the particular object, and that request, the information of the request and the access of the file for the particular subject to object will be audited in the audit file. So after the access, if we want to check which subject has access to which object, that information will be provided in the audit files. So this was all about the concept of the trusted system. I hope you did understand all the topics that has been discussed in this lecture. Thank you so much.